Well, guys, we just got hit with another massive win for the Second Amendment across the nation. The Trump Department of Justice just decided to not appeal a recent court decision that found that the NFA registration process was unconstitutional. Now, as a result, the first NFA item, a suppressor, in over 92 years has now been legally transferred as of last night without any NFA registration. First time that's ever happened in over 92 years. So this is historic. So let's go over what the NFA actually is, if you don't already know, how we got here, and what this means for our sacred and inherent right to self-defense protected and enshrined in the Constitution by the Second Amendment. But first, before I get started, you guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Jay Costa, and if you get value after watching this video, please hit that like button down below and also consider subscribing. We're building a tight-knit community here of like-minded individuals who are looking to fight for, protect, and defend our Second Amendment God-given rights here in the great state of New Jersey, as well as other blue states like it, but we are gaining steam across the country. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you could stay up to date on our weekly and soon to be more than weekly videos uploaded to YouTube. So once again, like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram, probably the best way to reach me, at JCostaUSA. So let's just jump right in. If you're watching this, chances are that you're living behind enemy lines like me in a state like New Jersey, New York, California, right? Where they essentially have state level bans on all NFA items anyway. So you may not even know what the heck the NFA is. So let's go over that right now. The NFA stands for the National Firearms Act. It was passed in 1934, and it regulates certain categories of firearms and devices through, registration requirements, taxes on making them and transferring them, and, other related restrictions. It's enforced, or it has been enforced, by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, aka the ATF. Now, these devices include suppressors, short-barrel rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and any other weapons, also known as AOWs. Before we continue as well, you should know that none of this applies to machine guns. So no matter where you are, doesn't mean you're going to go be able to buy a machine gun anytime soon. Once again, suppressors, short-barrel rifles, short-barrel shotguns, and AOWs. So previously, if you weren't aware, the process to get something like a suppressor meant that you had to fill out a form, register it with the NFA, and pay a $200 tax. You then receive what was called a tax stamp. But after President Trump signed what he called the Big Beautiful Bill in 2025, that tax on those NFA items dropped from $200 down to $0, effective January 1st of this year, 2026. That's right, from $200 to $0. Now, this was not done by accident. It opened the door for people to challenge it, because shortly thereafter, a bunch of pro-Second Amendment groups like the Gun Owners of America, Silencer Shop, Palmetto State Armory, and others legally challenged the constitutionality of the remaining NFA registration process. The NFA was created back in 1934, and Congress at the time thought they were being pretty clever, right? Instead of outright banning suppressors, they attached a $200 tax to owning one. And yes, it was $200 all the way back in 1934. That was obviously a very hefty amount of money back then, and it essentially banned these items for most people because they just simply couldn't afford it. Sounds familiar, right? The NFA was sold as a tax revenue measure, not gun control. You see, the tax stamp you received was basically a receipt proving that you paid the tax. But once Trump and Congress reduced that tax to $0, there was no longer a tax amount attached to the registration. That meant the entire registration requirement for the tax stamp was no longer necessary, and the court found it unconstitutional as of only a week or so ago, August 5th of this year, when the judge ruled in our favor. Now, there is a caveat, though. The ruling here only affects members and customers associated with the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. So, who is that? The Gun Owners of America members, Palmetto State Armory customers, Silencer Shop customers, I believe, as well as 15 or so other states that joined the suit, which, by the way, gives you great excuse to go join the GOA, Gun Owners of America, and support the amazing work that they are doing over there. Now, another caveat, unfortunately, for those of us living behind enemy lines, is that even if you are a GOA member or a PSA customer, state laws are not affected here. They still apply. So no suppressors or short barrel rifles in sight for us just yet. Now, while this is a massive win for our God-given right to self-defense, it's not the end goal. The end goal is for the NFA to be abolished altogether. And this is just one step towards that. But that would take an act of Congress, and truth be told, it's hard to get Congress to do much of anything these days. So if you live in a free or somewhat free state without state laws banning NFA items, and you're a member of GOA or a customer of one of the plaintiff companies, what does this mean for you? Well, no more fingerprints or photos needed to buy any of these items. No more unconstitutional NFA registration forms to buy SBRs, SBSs, AOWs, or suppressors. You simply go in, buy them the same way you would any other firearm, a NICS check, a Form 4473, I believe, and you're done. Now, for those of us living behind enemy lines, you might be asking, Jay, what are you making this video for? How does this help me in the slightest? Well, you're still not allowed, of course, to own suppressors, SBRs, SBSs, or AOWs. But first, any blow to gun control anywhere in the country is a win. It opens up a window or a door for us to challenge the constitutionality in the future. Second, this is one step closer towards abolishing the NFA. Now that there's no tax attached to the registration, many people believe it becomes much harder for the government to defend keeping the rest of this scheme in place. And lastly, this will make NFA items just more mainstream and popular, which is a huge win even for those of us in blue states. You see, the more common and popular suppressors and other so-called NFA items become, the stronger our argument is that these are common use items that should be protected by the Second Amendment. And that opens the door for us to challenge in the future. And with the current makeup of the federal courts, thanks to President Trump, I like our odds. Guys, I know it's easy to feel negative or be a Debbie Downer if you're living in a blue state. It feels like nothing ever actually changes, especially after what happened with the stay being granted in the Third Circuit. But the fact is, we are winning on these issues. Our beloved Second Amendment has not been in as good of a state as it is right now in generations. Now, I'll be making a video about this coming up shortly that you're going to want to check out, so hit subscribe and stay up to date. Probably about next week or so, maybe even this weekend. But otherwise, this is a great win and a great moment and a generational moment for our Second Amendment rights. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about what happened with the NFA, that the DOJ decided not to appeal. And what do you think this means for us living behind enemy lines? Is it a door opening or is it just more of the same, nothing ever changing? I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know in that comment section down below, and I will see you next time. As always, God bless. Keep fighting.